What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Now, originally I was going to go with the Hard Dynasty, but I opted with these two because I stumbled upon a YouTube compilation of theirs and forgot how entertaining they were. In ring, they're not the greatest, but I always enjoyed their antics and their character. Like, some might call them the bootleg Crime Time, but I don't see them like that. I feel like they were a tag team version of MVP in a way. They wanted the millions of dollars. They had the arrogance. They were dancing around, everything, all that. Another reason why I made this video is because, one, I lack in tag team videos, and two, no one seems to talk or even cover these guys' run. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, as you may know, Darren Young was a part of NXT Season 1. He had been wrestling previously on the indie circuit. He made a couple appearances during the Ruthless Aggression era before officially signing with the company in May of 2009. WWE called him up for the first season of NXT, and he was on the main roster shortly afterwards. Titus O'Neil, meanwhile, was an All-American football player at his high school. He attended the University of Florida, where he played for the Florida Gators as a defensive end. After college, he played in the Arena Football League for a couple of years. As for how he got into wrestling, in an interview with Richmond.com, O'Neil discussed the relationship he had with Batista. He said, quote-unquote, "One of my closest friends is Dave Batista, and we had several conversations about wrestling, but it wasn't something I was looking to make into a career. But he did tell me where they trained at, which was in Tampa. I was driving one day to get a pair of dress shoes and saw the training center in the plaza across the street. So I poked my head in the back door to see what it's all about. 2 weeks later, I was signed and learning how to become a WWE superstar. We were neighbors for years. He's one of my closest friends. Long before I got into WWE, we became friends. That's the beauty of life. You never know why you get to meet certain people." Damn, that's crazy. Like, O'Neil, he ends up being friends with the top guy in WWE and ends up getting signed due to his luck. As for how the Prime Time players formed, well, we gotta go back to the old NXT, the never-ending game show NXT Redemption. Titus O'Neil and Darren Young were stuck on the show for such a long time. Despite this, they were out to make the most out of it. The two were involved in a blood feud of sorts, at least that's what it looked like, and Titus was the babyface while Darren Young was the heel. Their issues culminated in a no disqualification match on the January 18th, 2012 episode of NXT. Titus whooped his ass, and right after the match, for some reason, he decides to speak about this. He's all happy that he won the match and all, then he decides to take a turn elsewhere. He was out to thank the fans for absolutely nothing. Okay, this heel turn, it gotta laugh at me. Like, he was fed up with competing for 46 weeks, being paired with a little leprechaun to be his pro, and after teaching him to speak, his fat ass ran off to SmackDown. He called himself the star of this and every show of the WWE, yes. He called everyone a bunch of losers, and what Michael Cole took away from this, the fact that Titus didn't learn how to cut a promo for all the time he's been on NXT. And this gave way to the Primetime players. They officially formed on the February 1st episode. Yes, they had that feud with each other, but they had the same perspective. Like, they wanted opportunities, and they're going to make an opportunity out of something. That's basically it. That's how they formed. Slowly, they began fleshing out their vibrant personalities. Darren Young developed a crush on Tamina, and Mr. No Days Off was somewhat shy. Titus was eager to pair them with one another, and he was helping him, Darren, get reservations for McDonald's. He was suggesting a coconut tree, and it was some very wacky stuff, as was the entire NXT Redemption thing. Eventually, Titus took a liking to her, which I found funny, as only 1 week later, they were on the main roster. Young was complaining about Titus's efforts to prevent him from going out with Tamina, when right out of nowhere, O'Neil brings out a SmackDown contract, meaning they were off to the main roster. Titus asked Young about Tamina, to which he replied, "Tamina who?" On the April 20th, 2012 episode of SmackDown, the Primetime players officially debuted. They managed to score the W over the Usos, and over the next couple of weeks, the Primetime players emerged as potential contenders for the tag titles. And at No Way Out, they did just that when they beat 3 other teams. With the help of AEW, who cussed his own clients Primo and Epico, they were the #1 contenders. Now that AEW was on their side, the duo were even more aggressive in their pursuit of the gold. AEW, along with the team, made for an annoying experience. And Abraham Washington, he was basically like a 2012 version of Leo Rush, except he was 10 times more annoying. He was the hype man. During the match, he's got a mic on. He's providing his own commentary, and the hardest thing for him to do was shut up. So all is good for AEW, right? But then, on the July 30th, 2012 episode of Raw, his mouth cost him his job. During Titus's match with Kofi Kingston, AEW said, quote-unquote, "Did you see that? Titus O'Neil is like Kobe Bryant at a hotel in Colorado. He is unstoppable." Why, man? Out of everything you could have said Kobe in 08 or something. He had to say that. Regardless of the PG rating, it wasn't something that should be said. On August 10th, 2012, AEW was released from his WWE contract, and he himself believed he was released due to a tweet about Linda McMahon, who was running for Senate, and they wanted no association between the company and the campaign. He was in support, by the way. And after he heard about this, which the WWE denied, he unleashed the biggest tirade against the company, effectively burning, then building the bridge only to destroy it on purpose. I mean, look at that stuff. Look what he's tweeting. Anyways, the Primetime Players challenged Kofi Kingston and R-Truth for the gold at SummerSlam in a losing effort. The WWE then changed the theme song due to some lyrics that weren't so PG, and it literally took them like 6 or 7 months to realize it. Following SummerSlam, the team weren't making that many moves in the tag team scene. They were, however, featured on a weekly basis, sometimes twice or even 3 times a week. They were more notable for their antics backstage and on the WWE shows on YouTube. That's where I used to watch them back then. Like, for example, one segment with John Cena, Titus called himself Rufus Pancake Patterson. Why did he call himself that? I don't know. He flattens competition, is what he claimed. He shouted the fans don't want to see Cena at WrestleMania and they want the Primetime Players. And honestly, this was the wackiest segment, and I don't even remember this at all. I don't have a single memory of this, and I used to watch Raw weekly back then. Like, I remember a bunch of stuff from that time period. Yeah, I don't remember this at all. He used the gout as an excuse to not compete and instead Darren went in there. Their segments on the WWE app were fun, and I still don't get why they weren't pushed. They were basically jobbers to the stars for a while. Glorified enhancement talent that occasionally got wins. But then on August 15, 2013, Darren Young came out. He straight up said it in a TMZ interview, and he was praised by several in the WWE for his bravery. Due to the positive feedback, the WWE turned the Primetime Players into baby faces. They started racking up victories, and they even faced the Shield at Night of Champions for the Tag Team Championships. The team were pretty over. They were heavily featured on SmackDown, and while they weren't winning titles or anything like that, they were just having fun. Take, for example, the November 29, 2013 episode of SmackDown. Titus competed against the Great Khali in a food eating contest, and Titus ate so much that he felt very uncomfortable during his match with Cesaro. He was stumbling around in that match was the least of his worries. The commentary team were laughing their asses off before slowly feeling sympathy for him. Cesaro was targeting the stomach, which I thought was quite hilarious. He was bouncing his ass around before going for the swing. He swung him around 13 or 14 times before Darren Young had to interfere to cause the DQ and save his partner. Titus was stumbling around the ringside area when he took JBL's hat and puked. He regurgitated everything he ate, and everyone's about to puke themselves, and all of a sudden, Titus tossed that hat right onto Michael Cole. JBL's running away, and Zeb was a victim of Titus's regurgitation. That was one memorable segment. Like, when I think of the Thanksgiving moment, that's one of them. That's one of the first things I think of. Following this, unfortunately, like all teams, the Primetime Players came to an end. On the January 31st, 2014 episode of SmackDown, after losing to Ryback, so Titus O'Neil was visibly frustrated over the fact that he wasn't even tagged in. He was pissed that Darren lost in 2 minutes, and after he called Titus his brother, Titus responded saying that ever since he partnered with Darren, he's been known as a loser. He claimed that he came to the WWE to be the man. He straight up told him he's going to get rid of the dead weight before attacking him. He unleashed an assault on his former buddy, turning heel once again. He bounced him around the barricade before shouting, "Let's talk then." I honestly don't get why they split them up. Like, they should have built them up to be like viable contenders for the title. 2014, I believe it was lacking in top tag teams. It should have been their year. Like, the Shield was going to split. Cesaro and Swagger weren't going to be there, the Real Americans. A bunch of teams weren't there yet. Like, the New Day, Cesaro, and Tyson Kidd weren't there yet. This should have been their year looking back. It should have been the year where they built them up to be viable contenders. This feud came to a head at Elimination Chamber when the former tag team partners faced off. Despite Young's efforts, he brought the fight to Big Titus. Hell, he even hit a neck breaker on the apron, but Titus was focused. He was eager to show everyone what he's made of. He had a cool looking clash with Titus to win the match. Darren, however, got his win back a couple of weeks later on Main Event. Following this, Darren was out with a torn ACL, I believe, and as for Titus, he formed the iconic Slater Gator with Heath Slater. The team, while some of their stuff was hilarious, didn't last long, and upon Darren Young's return, he and Titus reformed the Primetime Players on the February 16, 2015 episode of Raw. This run in itself was way more successful than the first. The team were more prominent than previously. They were on Raw every week. They had a feud with the New Day, and it led to a matchup between the two teams at Money in the Bank for the titles. And the match itself wasn't bad. Titus near the end finally got tagged in. He had all the momentum in the world, and he managed to hit Clash of the Titles on Xavier to finally win the Tag Team Championships. After 3 years, they did it. The duo certainly deserved to win it. Sure, New Day were starting to get really, and I mean really over, but it didn't hurt to give the guys some gold. I mean, they totally deserved it. They connected with the crowd in a way, and yeah, they were fixing the problems they had last time around. Like, if I remember correctly, their matches were better during this time period rather than the 2012 to 14 run. Not only that, but WWE actually realized, hey, these guys deserve to win the title, so they did it. Now, like I said, the New Day was massively over, and unfortunately for the Primetime Players, they were victims in this thing. They were kind of over with the fans, but New Day was just on another level at the time, if I remember correctly. Slowly they fell off, they lost the titles at SummerSlam, and they parted ways a couple of months later once again. They were on good terms this time though, and Titus was becoming a big babyface in a way. He wasn't exactly big main eventer, They were trying to build them up in a way. Several months later, in July of 2016, a feud between these two began. Titus and Darren, they were about to reform the Primetime Players once again, but Titus had some other plans. At this point, Darren Young was backed by Bob Backlund, and he was on a mission to make Darren Young great again. This led to one of the greatest promos in WWE history.
I mean, earlier tonight, you guys heard becoming the WWE Tag Team Champions before going in. It was the best day of my life. No, let's.
Then Bob Backlund comes out and he's shouting, hey, don't you come out here, I'll beat y'all. Backlund ran in there and almost locked Titus in the crossface chicken wing, but he failed. Darren ran in there to make the save, and he received the clash of the Titus, and he was exactly a man of his word. Now, what the hell was this? It was simply put an elegant, verbal masterpiece of the highest regard. Nothing is able to conquer the outstanding, splendid mirrors of this aforementioned promo. Titus O'Neil conveyed his message in quintessential fashion. Simply put, nothing's gonna beat this. They had another match the following week. Titus stood tall in the end. And that's the story of the Primetime Players. Darren was released a year later, while Titus, right now, he's the goodwill ambassador of WWE. He's doing good. Now, did I like this team? Yes. It wasn't because of their in-ring action. I just thought they were there in that regard. But because of their character, their antics, they were so damn entertaining. I used to watch them on the WWE. Well, I never downloaded that thing. I used to watch them on YouTube and on WWE.com. They used to do some fun stuff backstage. They used to go around places, mess around basically. That's why I like them. Do I believe they should have had a better run? Yes. Especially in 2012 with the AW thing. Had that guy never said what he said, they would have been tag champions earlier, I believe. But yes, they fixed the wrongdoings of the first run. They had better matches. They were given the title. And yeah, the problem I have with the team, though, is the fact that they were better off with each other rather than without each other. Like, as single stars, they weren't going to get pushed, but with one another, it's like they complement each other in a way. That's what I think. Decent team should have gone down better in a way. What do you guys think of the Primetime Players? Please comment down below. And that's it for this video. Make sure you hit a gut check on the like button and perhaps the Clash of the Titus on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.